This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Dun, 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 dun.
This is a sham.
No.
Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
Ladies' Day. Good morning.
Hey.
Welcome to DBL. We have gorgeous ladies here. The first lady of DBL here in her pearls. Everybody.
Thank you.
You look
Thank you.
amazing. Both of you do. All right. We got some interesting topics to discuss because I want to know what you feel about these. The nation's top infectious disease expert. You all know him. I always used to do the accent. Dr. Fauci announced yesterday that he is stepping down effective this December, but he's not retiring. The 81-year-old said he plans to pursue the next phase of his career. Dr. Fauci became the face of the COVID pandemic, but he's worked for more than 50 years in government. He has served 7 presidents, but he's also faced a ton of criticism, like for his comments on the effectiveness of masks early in the pandemic. So Republicans in Congress reacted to the news, saying they will continue to investigate his conduct even after Fauci leaves. We want to know, what do you think of the Fauci? What do you think of Dr. Fauci stepping down and how he's become such a controversial figure? I'm just going to read you 2 comments. You can see how divided people are. Lindsay, one says, I hope he's not off the hook. He needs to be investigated. This is on Twitter. And one says, thank you, Dr. Fauci, a true American hero. Couldn't be farther apart.
Right.
What do you think?
Well, first, I think it's a little disheartening because we have the reemergence of polio. We have COVID still going on. We have monkeypox.
Right.
So at this time, I really would prefer that we had somebody stable in place that's going to give us some peace of mind. But a lot of people argue that he doesn't give peace of mind because he flip-flopped, you know, quote unquote, so many times with the pandemic as the CDC did. And it was reasonably so. Nobody knew anything about this disease, and we learned about it as people got it and contracted it more. And so it's unfortunate that he got all the backlash, and nobody accounted for the 50 years of service that he gave to the country and did a brilliant, great job. You know, and he's 81 years old, like you said. He said he wants to get into lecturing and he wants to teach young people that it's okay and fun to get into science and public health. And so if he wants to go into that chapter of his career, 81 by all standards is a career well done, and so he should. And that's all I got to say about that.
Said, I'd love to hear your point on that. Do you agree, disagree?
No, I agree completely. I mean, when you're talking about one word that you used was stability, and it's the stability and consistency. You have someone who has decided to devote 50 years of their life to the betterment of the human race. I don't put any investment or any stock into naysayers because that's like coming in after the game is over or like the last 2 seconds on the clock. This man has devoted his life for the past 50 years to multiple epidemics and pandemics under multiple leaderships. And this is the first time, because of the Twitter sphere, that people who were bagging groceries yesterday or work at banks or are construction want to come in and decide who should be believed and not. The idea that we're using resources and time that Republican leadership has decided really needs to be investigated seems a little bit of a misappropriation of resources and time. Are they going to go back the 50-year span and talk about the AIDS epidemic? Are we going to talk about, what was it, Ebola? Are we going to do all of those? Or is it because you're still hung up on the fact that someone made you wear a mask? Like, come on.
Yeah, that's fair. I do want to hear other people on Twitter saying 2 years too late. Someone saying Dr. Fauci stepping down is the best public health news since the invention of hand washing.
Well, Biden created a role for him, so he actually wanted to step down after President Trump, after how crazy that was. And so Biden asked him to come and created a role specifically for him in the White House.
Right.
So that's an important point to know for everybody who said he should have been left.
Step down. He kind of wanted
he
to.
kind of wanted to and just decided to continue public service because he was asked to by the next president.
That's right. It's funny. There's a picture of Anthony Fauci in all biohazard gear about to enter someone with Ebola. And he goes, you know why? He was like 78 at the time. And he goes, you know why I do this? Because I don't expect anyone else to do it if I don't do it. And that man walks the walk, talks the talk, and kept this country from imploding on itself. No matter what you think, in my mind, he was the rudder during that turbulent time.
And
he
isn't that a haunting thought,
Yes.
though? He does it because no one else is going to.
Right.
So who is going to take the ball and run with it?
Right.
Because at the end of the day,
And who
people
would
might
want
have
to?
exactly, especially after the backlash, people might have a lot of grievances. But after 1 million Americans died from COVID, many of whom we know in this room,
yes,
just be happy that you're alive to complain.
Yeah, very well said. Let us know what you guys think. If you disagree with us, that's what we're here for you to get mad at us. Just kidding. Have you all seen the video? This is a great story. This is the Prime Minister. There she is. In Finland. Finnish people. I love the Finnish people. All right. She's out partying. She's dancing with her friends. Her name is Sanna Marin. She's 36 years old, so she's 4 years younger than I am. The video leaked and went viral, and many demanded she take a drug test to prove she wasn't on drugs. In a press conference, the Prime Minister defended her right to enjoy herself out on a night with friends and said she considered the demand for a drug test to be unjust. Still, she took the drug test to clear up any suspicions. The test came back negative. But the question is, can leaders like this go out and party, or is this not appropriate? May I remind you all, the Kennedys had the White House. They were hanging from chandeliers. They were drinking so much, the Kennedys. So this isn't a new thing.
Well, there wasn't social media.
But there was no cameras. It's exactly right. Lindsay, go ahead.
Well, you know, I'm like, people party. People are normal people. They're layered. And I loved actually watching her do this, knowing that she's a great world leader also. She's also one of the youngest world leaders. And as somebody who's constantly been the youngest in my role in many positions, I always feel like people are looking like, oh, what are you going to do? I'm going to act my age, but I'm also going to be professional, probably out-professional you at work. But when it's time to not work, I'm going to play hard and drink and have fun. And, like, people need to allow the space for people to be human beings. And she just looked regular tipsy. That wasn't, like, anything that led to me saying that she's on drugs.
So let me show you this, too. And before I get to you, Erica, I agree with you, Linz, and a lot of Finnish women did, too. Look at the video I found that they made, and they tagged the Finnish Prime Minister to show themselves out partying, out dancing. Do you see any misogyny here in terms of, like, why is it a woman that can't do it?
Of course.
Right? What do you think about? What do you think about?
Not only misogyny, but it's also the backlash of pretty privilege. You know, it's the idea that she is I call people symmetrical. Like, symmetry defines, like, that generally is the foundation of what people see as attractive. She's a very symmetrical person.
Totally.
So she's getting a lot of backlash for that as well. My biggest thing is, protect your circle and protect your bubble, because whoever was videoing her and then put that out there, like, they are automatically 86 from the equation completely. But to be 100% honest, I don't trust people who are one-dimensional. I don't trust people who don't know how to let their hair down and actually be a human being.
Right.
So in leadership or otherwise, like, there's a time and a place for everything, and that was her time and her place. The biggest mistake is you let somebody in to the inner circle that did not deserve to be there.
That's true, and perhaps that friendship is finished.
Oh, round of applause. Come on, guys. That was a good one.
That's the only one I had all year.
She's been waiting all morning. I know. I can feel it.
I got it. Coming up on DBL, Jonah Hill says he's done doing press to protect his mental health. Do you admire stars who take breaks from Hollywood, or does the show must go on? And a new documentary investigates the mysterious disappearance of Richard Simmons. What's the real story behind him leaving all of a sudden the public eye?
Closed captioning provided by...
I think it is one of those stories we're all going to be like, what?
So raised you.
Why am I right all the time? Welcome to another week of Jeff's Mustache.
Am I going crazy?
They're having some good conversation down there. I'm like eavesdropping. What's going on? Even though
Prepping on Richard Simmons.
He's a loner, very different from his person. We also talked about how
was it like a Zoom?
Different than his personality.
Call in, and that was in 2017.
Oh, he didn't even show his face?
No,
Like, super
that was in
extroverted.
2017, so that was 5 years ago. He hasn't been seen in public for 8 years.
But it's so abnormal
Quiet and
because he was
insecure.
so public, but then it's like also really normal that people don't come on TV
If you're
for it.
someone famous and recognizable, how hard is it to disappear?
Yeah,
And never once be seen or get a photo taken of you.
I have a photo of him in 2014 because he was in a car and he said, you should hold her hand. And I got a picture with him and 4 Asian men in a car, Brooks to Brooks. And it was very interesting. It was very interesting.
What the heck?
Yeah,
that Aldi is the last time he was actually seen in public.
I know. And I should get that picture.
Oh, you have it?
Yeah,
Oh boy.
Weird though, 8 years, not one photo.
Strange.
Yeah, if you paid for it.
Mysterious. Yeah.
That was
5
in
years
2016, yeah. That would have been,
I thought it was 2017.
it was
Yeah, I know.
2016.
I had to finish with the finish joke, you know? Just kidding. Here's the pic of Richard Simmons. Yeah.
We're doing some body makeup,
It's
y'all. How you
2013.
doing? Hey, this is Dermablend, you know. It covers up everything, all your sins if you need to.
I think I fell down somewhere.
It's cool.
You know how it is.
Yeah,
What
it'd
is
be
it
like
called?
that sometimes.
What's Karen's name? Her name's
Karen.
Thank you.
Her name's Karen. Yep.
Okay, just sent it.
Hope you guys are having a great Tuesday. It's kind of wild up in here, but we're doing it, you know.
Jeray's voice.
Hi, Bert. Good morning, Bert. It's a beautiful day at Daily Blast Live, Bert.
Welcome back. So a new documentary is shining a light on what happened to popular fitness guru Richard Simmons. So it's called TMZ Investigates Whatever Happened to Richard Simmons, and it aired last night on Fox. So Richard has not been seen in public since 2014, and the documentary debunks theories that he was being held hostage by his housekeeper or that he was transitioning into a woman. Instead, it suggests that Richard, who is 74, had some very deep insecurities about his public image. He battled obesity for years before he became known for workout videos like Sweating to the Oldies. In the doc, Suzanne Summers reveals Richard didn't even want to appear with her on a Larry King interview. Watch this.
Want to be on the show with me, and I said, why? And he said, she'll make fun of me, and that's not my style anyway. I never make fun of anybody. But that's when I realized, oh, a little insecurity has gotten in there. I liked him. I was always so surprised when he thought I'd make fun of him. But doesn't that show you he's got like a heart ache? Something's broken inside?
So in the end, the doc reveals his disappearance was largely related to knee injuries, and he's become a recluse because he doesn't want to be remembered as a frail guy, something he talked about when he called into the Today Show. Remember, no face, but called in back in 2016. So listen to this.
I just sort of wanted to be a little bit of a loner for a while. You know, I had hurt my knee, Savannah, and I had some problems with it. And then the other knee started to give me trouble because I've taught like thousands and thousands of classes. And, you know, right now I just want to sort of, you know, just take care of me.
So, interesting story. My friend lost an enormous amount of weight with Richard Simmons, became his friend, wrote a blog about the disappearance. His name is David Garcia, and really was quite concerned that something could happen. Is it okay for a big celebrity to suddenly just drop out? What do you think, Erica?
Yeah.
Right?
It's called having full autonomy of your person and your privacy. You know, it'd be one thing if he was trying to, you know, be behind the scenes and use his image or his likeness or anything to like pull the wool over our eyes or something. But this is a person who gave decades of really public service, you know, like decades of being a public figure, and that is a lot of energy. People feel like they have ownership over anyone who finds themselves in the public eye. And what people don't really understand is, for a lot of people, it's not even a search for fame. It's the idea that this is something that they have been anointed to do, and they are so great at what they do that they become iconic. So the fame is really a byproduct of a passion. It's not necessarily for everyone, someone who's going out there because they want their name to be known.
Right, but and I agree with you, but he was everywhere. I mean, he really went from like flying in on Letterman to like no one. What do you think?
I mean, I love that, and I believe in the idea of just disappearing when you want, how you want, and I hope that that's the case. But because of some of the insecurities and because of how vulnerable he was to put himself out there on a public stage constantly, I know that even Oprah shared that story when she lost her weight. It's hard to be how critical you are in yourself, let alone the other people when you gain it back or when you can't move around the way you used to move around. So if he doesn't want to come out for reasons that are all aesthetic, I could get that too, because his whole image is about aesthetics. Right. And he shared it in front of the world his entire entire journey. So I hope that it's the former, not the latter.
Yeah, and he did speak, like you said, about obesity before anyone was sort of talking about it and doing something about it. My parents had Sweatin' to the Oldies. I love doing it. And on 2013, Brooks and I were walking down the street, and a man yelled out of a car, and he said, "You should hold her hand. She's so beautiful." And he rolled down the window, and it was one Mr. Richard Simmons. And we got a quick pic. We're going to try and get it for you for the end of the show. He was kind. He stayed in the back, but it was a lovely gesture from a lovely man, and I wish him well. I really wish him well. Yep. Coming up on DBL, stars like Tom Holland and Jonah Hill have recently announced mental health breaks, kind of similar to what we're talking about here. So are the days of working through the pain, are they just a thing of the past? Stay with us.
On August 16th, President Joe Biden trumpeted a decision by the Food and Drug Administration to allow people to buy hearing aids without a prescription. He estimates the move could save people who need hearing aids $3,000. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren tweeted that she brought forth legislation that paved the way for this to happen back in 2017, along with Republican Senator Chuck Grassley. Other people tweeted that a law signed by former President Donald Trump helped make this happen. So let's verify. Did a law signed in 2017 pave the way for over-the-counter hearing aids? Our sources are the FDA Reauthorization Act, the Over-the-Counter Hearing Aid Act of 2017, the Congressional Research Service, the Alliance for Aging Research, and Senators Grassley and Warren. In 2017, Senators Grassley and Warren brought forward the OTC Hearing Aid Act with the goal of creating a new category of hearing aids that can be sold without a prescription. Around the same time, Congress was debating a separate FDA funding bill, so they added the hearing aid bill into the funding bill. The FDA funding bill, with the added hearing aid language, was passed by Congress and signed into law by then-President Trump. However, the FDA didn't follow through. It wasn't until 2022 that the FDA finally took action after President Biden signed an executive order that set a deadline for the agency to create a new classification of hearing aids that can be sold over the counter, which they just announced. So, yes, a law signed in 2017 paved the way for over-the-counter hearing aids, but it took additional action to make it a reality. The FDA expects Americans can start buying hearing aids without a prescription in October. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Welcome back. So there's a theme going out of today's show. After Spider-Man actor Tom Holland announced that he'd be taking a mental health break from social media, a lot of other celebrities are also setting boundaries now for their mental health. Jonah Hill announced that he will not promote his upcoming films anymore, all of them, because of his history with anxiety attacks. Let's not forget about Simone Biles, who withdrew from competition due to stress and mental health. Other celebrities taking breaks from the limelight include singer Shawn Mendes and tennis champion Naomi Osaka. Meanwhile, there are dozens of celebrities who have worked through sickness and injuries, like Lady Gaga, who was so sick during a concert she threw up on stage, or Tom Cruise, who shot Mission Impossible 6 on a broken ankle. Natalie Portman, of course, filmed Black Swan with a dislocated rib. So are mental illnesses the same as physical sickness or injuries, or do these celebrities need to suck it up?
I think we need to suck it up. Like, for anybody who has an issue with someone taking a break, it's like we really glamorize the idea of struggle and pain.
Totally.
We do it with, you know, I love my mother. I love my grandmother. Those women went through so much that I have a luxury of not having to do. But a part of the reason why they did that is so that I wouldn't be starting where they were. So I wouldn't have to go through all of the hurdles and the obstacles that they had to go through in order for me to sit in the seat. And for the next generation, I feel that same amount of responsibility. I don't want you to have to do the things that I had to do in order to get to where you need to go. So for people who are deciding to prioritize their mental and physical health, yes, The people who came before did all of those things and passed you a baton, not so that you could revert back to what the hell they had to do when the resources weren't there, so that you can start at a much greater starting point and move it forward. And that's okay. And we should celebrate that.
That was really well said. That was amazing. It's like you're standing on the shoulders of others.
Exactly. Why are you trying to go down? Like, what are you trying to prove here?
Right. What about that? The show must go on. That feeling. What do you think about it? Because we as entertainers, we kind of like. I hurt my back during Hamlet once, and I was like, "We're out there." Like you kind of just go on.
So specific.
But what did you? It was a bad show, by the way. What do you think?
I mean, my peace of mind is priority. Everybody here knows that if it's a no for me, I'm not doing it. I'm not going there. I'm not showing up. But I also, when I do show up, I'll give you 200%. And so if I am there, I'm going to give it to you. I'd rather that than Lady Gaga throwing up on stage giving you 10% or her 100 that was really 50 because she was really sick. So I appreciate peace of mind. I appreciate prioritizing your mental health, especially now that I have a kid. A no is just like, I just don't want to. And I don't feel like it. I'm tired. And these are all good excuses. I don't want to do it.
What if you're Adele? Just a random person who can't, or I'm just saying, a performer like that who cancels a concert in which people have already paid. How do we feel about that?
Well, I think that's where it gets really tricky because it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But I think ultimately, like we discussed with Adele, I know that you felt very differently than I did. She felt like it wasn't going to be 100%. At the end of the day, like, the show goes on in the idea of it doesn't have to be the physical show that day, but there is going to be a huge contingent of her fans who are going to buy tickets to the next show. There will be another show.
There is.
And it was just a lie, though. Like, if you would have gave us like 2 weeks heads up, like, you knew the show wasn't looking where it needs to be 100% 2 weeks out. Come on now. You didn't find out the night before when people were already in Vegas. So if you would have gave people time to change their flights, because it's not just about the ticket. It's about that you bought them on a site that sold second retail sale of them, and then you're paying double or triple the price. Then they flew there, and now they're getting no concert. So if you would just give them the heads up, I'm sure people will be happy because they love Adele so much to change their schedule and accommodate her.
I sort of agree too. When money's on, like Shawn Mendes canceled a concert recently for mental health. I'm all for that. But when money's involved and there's a transaction there. I paid for you to entertain me, and I know I don't own you. But yeah, either a refund or something to that matter. Let us know ahead of time. But interesting discussion. The show must go on. We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
The Democrats' new law to address climate change is called the Inflation Reduction Act, and it includes a $7,500 tax credit for people who buy electric vehicles. There already was such a credit on the books, but this law changes which cars are eligible, and a lot of Verify viewers asked us to look into those changes. So let's verify. Are all electric vehicles eligible for the new tax credit? Our sources: the full text of the Inflation Reduction Act, the 2008 law that created the old tax credit, and Consumer Reports. The existing EV tax credit had a significant limitation. Only 200,000 credits were available to each manufacturer. So once that number was hit, no more buyers could get the credit for that brand of car. The new law removes that cap. Good news for popular brands like Tesla that haven't been eligible for years. But there are a lot of new restrictions as well. First, only cars that are assembled in North America are eligible. According to Consumer Reports, that rules out some companies that make their EVs abroad, like Hyundai, Toyota, and Kia. Second, it rules out the most expensive models. Trucks, vans, and SUVs are only eligible if they cost 80 grand or less. Sedans and other cars have to be under 55 grand. That rules out some popular luxury vehicles like the Tesla Model S and Porsche Taycan. Third, there's an income cap on taxpayers. Couples have to earn 300 grand a year or less to get the credit, individuals 150,000 or less. And finally, there are requirements about where the EV batteries are made and where the minerals in them get mined. There's a list of companies, including a bunch in China, that automakers are banned from contracting with at all. And in the first year this law takes effect, 2023, at least 40% of the minerals and 50% of the other components of the battery have to be from the US or its free trade partners. And those percentages go up every year. We don't know exactly which models that'll affect right now, but car companies have said it may take some time to adjust their supply chains to comply with this requirement. So while the Inflation Reduction Act does expand the EV tax credit, we can verify, no, not all electric vehicles will be eligible for it. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Many states are warning of a teacher shortage this school year. That includes Florida, which is loosening some requirements to help solve the problem. One initiative temporarily waives the requirement for military veterans to have a bachelor's degree to get a teaching permit. Some social media users, including this now deleted Reddit post, claim the state also extended the program to veteran spouses. Several news outlets also posted stories reporting that spouses were eligible. So let's verify. Can military veteran spouses teach without a college degree in Florida? Our sources are the Florida Department of Education and Florida Senate Bill 896. Earlier this year, the Florida legislature passed SB 896, creating the Military Certification Pathway Program. The program allows veterans who served at least 4 years, have at least 60 college credits, and who pass an exam on the subject they want to teach to qualify for a temporary 5-year teaching permit. Normally, a potential teacher would need at least a bachelor's degree to be eligible. The bill makes no mention of military spouses. So, no, military veteran spouses cannot get a teaching permit without a college degree in Florida.
Hey, DBL Nation, we make the show for who? For you. So your feedback is really important, and it's more important than ever to us. That's why we've created a very short survey. To complete the survey, all we need you to do is go to dailyblastlive.com/survey, or go up to the screen and use your phone for that QR code you see on the screen right now with your camera phone. Your opinion matters to us. We hope you'll just take a few minutes to share your thoughts, because we want to hear from you. And I know a lot of shows say that. They don't really mean it. We do. We want to hear from you, so take the time and do it. You have a voice here. Let's talk about this now. Gas costing a pretty penny, especially if you're in a pinch. How can you save some money at the pump? We're going to chat about it in today's Bang for Your Buck, presented by The Hartford. First, sign up for fuel reward programs. Next, avoid the pump during hot afternoons. Instead, get gas in the morning or even when it's cooler. Whoa, I didn't know that. Next, get an app that tracks the lowest gas prices in your area. And when you find a good deal, fill your tank all the way. Finally, plan your trip so that all your errands are on the way to where you're going. And if you're not happy with your current insurance, we've made it easy for you. For quality and affordable insurance, the Buck's got your back. The Hartford will be happy to provide you solutions. So call the Hartford at 1-800-683-6402 or visit thehartford.com to learn more. And now, to the famous Richard Simmons photo. So we only got him.
Found it.
Yeah, so I found it. So there he was in this car, and Brooks and I were walking, and he was so kind. We asked, we said, we're getting married soon, and he was just a lovely man. And that's like one of the last times people saw him in public. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Very strange.
That like ties into the story so perfectly. Like the filter on the photo, everything is like, it feels like a couple years ago, because that was
like
a super popular filter.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a very odd thing, and I'm glad that we're doing No Pain, No Gain is ending. I hope that's good for everybody. Let us know if you disagree, because I know many of you grew up a different way. DBL's new every day. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Bye, guys.